What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P. We are back here once again, and you already know what time it is. It is time to bust that rhyme about the grit and the grime. One more time. One thing's for certain. Three things are for sure when you see me in front of TV. Number one, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. Number two, we came to give you stats and not none of that static. And number three, perhaps the most important number of them all, number three. Want to make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. You may be asking yourself, how, Don? How, Mr. P, does one keep their Lions news pragmatic? Well, it's very simple. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to let you know. Smash the like button, subscribe, share. And when you've done these things, in whichever order you've done these things in, you've indeed kept your Lions news pragmatic. And speaking about sharing and sharing with your peoples, since sharing is caring, once you've shared this stream with your brothers, your fathers, your mothers, your sisters, your cousins, your brothers, your fathers, your mothers, your sisters, your cousins, you name it, you have indeed cared about these people. What up, though? Zach J. What up, though? Lisa. Everybody else in the chat coming in, straggling in. What is up, though, to you people? We're gonna be talking about some things, and you already know the thumbnail. This is picking up steam, guys. This is picking up steam. And later on in the show, I'm gonna be breaking down exactly how this can get done. Because I think that there is one thing that people are still forgetting. And I'm going to go back to my favorite example. It's my favorite example because it's practical and it happened to the Detroit Lions. It happened to the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions were on the receiving end of a package. Amazon hit us up. And the other team was on the receiving end of a package of their own, and Amazon hit them up. So we're going to get into all of that. Everybody that wants to say it can't happen, everybody wants to say that it's not feasible, we're going to break down why it is that it is feasible and it is easy to happen. Of course, we're talking about none other than the Max Crosby situation. We talked about it yesterday. Now we've got some sound from some players. We got something that Aidan Hutchinson said. We got something that Amon-Ra said. We got things. I think the players are putting the regime's feet to the fire a little bit. You may not think it's something. You may think that it's nothing. But here is the point. When players start speaking up and they start telling you what they want and you don't listen, that's the beginning of the end. Let me explain. The Detroit Lions players have been notably quiet about everything. The Detroit Lions players have found a way to make chicken soup out of chicken poop. Just last offseason, Aidan Hutchinson was asked about Marcus Davenport and that pairing and all these things, and he took the high road. Oh, man, he's going to be healthy. We're speaking it into existence. We're manifesting. We're doing all that. We're trying to come up with nicknames. What happened? It was like a clip song. What happened to that boy? He was snap, and then he took a crack into that boy. What happened to that boy? And they were talking about Marcus Davenport. Brent DeWitt, what up, though? He says players are telling Brad to Shizer or get off the pot. This is what the players are telling Brad, I feel. Okay? So even though you came out there and you knew Marcus Davenport was not going to be healthy, he's in your locker room. He's a guy that you've seen up close and personal. You saw him taking off all types of plays. You saw him at training camp not practicing fully. getting rest days, more rest days than everybody else. You knew it wasn't going to work. You knew it wasn't. But Aidan Hutchinson, being the leader that he is, being the consummate professional that he is, he came up to the microphone and to the podium and he said, "We're speaking it into existence." Now, there's a lot of people that believe a lot of things. I don't necessarily believe in manifestation. I mean, if you believed in if manifestation was a thing, a proven thing, then everybody would do it. If my friend just spoke into existence a Rolls Royce into his driveway, don't you think that I would also just be like, okay, well, cool. I know a person who's done this. And if they can do it, I can do it too. Bam, Rolls Royce in my driveway. And we have another example of it not working because Aidan Hutchinson sat there and told you we were manifesting it and Marcus Davenport is going to be healthy. How'd that work out? I don't even remember the game that he got hurt in. It was the Chicago Bears game. Game number 2. Once again. Once again. Last year, or the season before last, because the season's just passed, right? The season before last, Marcus Davenport missed game number 2 because he tweaked his groin in game number 1 and then went out for the season in game number 3. So it's the same pattern. You play 2 games, if you get through 2, and you go down for the season. Now, Marcus Davenport did come back to the tail end of the season and played the last 4 or 5 games, whatever have you, but didn't actually play in them. He was just running around trying not to get hurt. Cool. So that's what Aidan Hutchinson had to say about Marcus Davenport. Saw him everywhere except on the field. Right. Right. So that's what Aidan Hutchinson had to say about Marcus Davenport. Cool. Now, Aidan Hutchinson is singing a different type of tune. And I will play for you the tune that he is singing. But before I do that, I just want to let you know that Aidan Hutchinson is not the only not the only person on the team talking about Max Crosby coming to the Detroit Lions. It's just not him. It's not just him. Someone else, high profile player, has said the same thing. Or not exactly the same thing. Obviously, they're not the same people, but he is talking about Max Crosby coming here as well. All right. So this was a situation. It's FanDuel. They're at the Super Bowl and Pro Bowl and all these things, right? Kay Adams sat down with Aidan Hutchinson and he had something to say. Dennis Fallon says, and in that Bears game, Davenport got hurt and it looked like he just fell down. Fact. It looked like he just fell down and then he had like a separated shoulder that required surgery and all this craziness. I don't know. Marcus Davenport is really Mr. Glass. All right. So the interview went a little bit something like this.
To be a lion pretty badly. Yeah. And I'd like him to be a bear. I'm from.
Hold on. I didn't have that up. Let me do it. All right, here we go.
But I want Max to be a lion pretty badly. Yeah. And I'd like him to be a bear. I'm from, but it's because of you that I want him here badly, if that makes sense. He's another.
Okay. So in case you guys didn't catch that, she said, she's from Chicago. She's from Chicago. And she's going to say something crazy that we all know is likely. She's going to say something crazy a little bit later. But she's from Chicago. She's telling you she wants Max Crosby to be a lion badly because she likes Aidan Hutchinson. All right, let's continue.
Other, I don't know, his time in Vegas. He's a Michigan native.
Yeah, right.
Just like you. Can you just like him, you on the field, and then him, you, Dan Campbell? There's just something.
It sounds right.
It's just right. It's like head and shoulders being right for your dandruff, scalp cooling needs.
That's right.
Can you paint me the picture of why that's the perfect fit?
I was actually looking that up on the way over here because I was hearing some rumblings about it, but I don't know.
I'm the rumbling. Nice to meet you. Go on.
In the event that it did happen, that would be so dangerous. But and me and Max have a great relationship. I'd love to play with him.
What do you mean?
What do I think of the?
What do you mean you have a great relationship? I don't know. What's the relationship?
We see each other every now and then. We'll DM every now and then, and we both have a lot of respect for each other's games.
Okay.
And so,
have you ever worked out together?
The likelihood of him coming to the
He completely sidesteps that question. Have you ever worked out together?
Detroit is high? No. Just given with the amount of guys that they have to pay.
There's money, yeah. I'm living in a dream world. Right. I know it.
In a dream world, though, it's
the guys that they have to pay is false. Again, I'm going to break that down to you a little bit later. I'm going to give you exact numbers. I'm not just going to tell you what they can do. I'm going to tell you exactly how they can do it.
Sounds really good and it sounds right, which I'm all for.
Okay. That there was another clip was a little bit longer. And Kay Adams said, "Don't let him go to the Bears." She said, "Don't let him go to the Bears." That's a sentiment. Would you trade McNeil in a first round pick for Max Crosby and draft interior? What was that? Y'all know what that was? In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. We'll get into some trade scenarios as well a little bit later. Now, I know today in this town, one general manager did something. I'm not going to get too into it because the sport in which it happened is not a sport that I give two damns. I don't know if I could give any less damns than I give about baseball. If you like baseball, that's your thing. That's on you. I do not like baseball. I do not watch baseball. I could not tell if you showed me a lineup of people other than Tarek Skubal, I couldn't tell you who they were. Riley Green, I could tell you. That's it. If you showed me pictures of people not in a Tigers uniform and said, "Who is this?" I'd be like, "Okay, I do not. I don't even know how many teams there are in baseball. I know Clayton Kershaw grew up with Matthew Stafford. I don't do it. Okay. I don't, nothing about baseball appeals to me. If it appeals to you, that's great. All right. But so one guy, Scott Harris, I believe, he did something today and everybody was happy about it. And people were talking about World Series. Congratulations. I hope you win the World Series. It's just bragging rights for me. I've got my best friend is from Atlanta, so he's a Braves fan. So if the Tigers were to win a World Series, I would rub it in his face. But I've also told him he knows how I feel about baseball. He's my best friend. He knows I could give two damns about baseball. Okay. I could give two damns because I don't currently give any. So I guess I have a couple to give, but I don't give any right now. Okay. The Pistons did the same thing at the trade deadline that the Lions did all last season, which is they watched their conference get better and they didn't do anything to counteract it. Now we're not getting into Jaden Ivey and we're not getting into all that stuff because this is a Detroit Lions podcast. But I'm just saying the Pistons did the same thing that the Lions did. I feel like at some point in time that while we all know the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing repeatedly and expect different results. I feel like if you don't want to be labeled as insane, Brad Holmes, you must pull the trigger. Apparently, what we've heard out of the Lions camp and the Brad Holmes camp and all these different camps is that Brad Holmes was on the phone to the Raiders discussing Max Crosby. And this is when the Raiders were not willing to trade him. But guess what? Jay Glazer said when he was asked, it was like a Yahoo Sports show. When he was asked, if you haven't heard the audio for that one, I can play it for you. Just let me know if you haven't heard it. But I think it's been 2 days now and everybody's heard it. They asked him if it was a Las Vegas Raiders decision. He said, no, it's a Max Crosby decision. He doesn't want to be there anymore. He's not willing to go through another rebuild. Right? When Max Crosby, not last year, but the year before last, he sat at his locker when he was talking about Antonio Pierce. And he said, I'm a winner. And whatever that means, I want to win. Right? And basically the sentiment was, if they're not trying to win, well, I'm not going to sit up here and try to sell myself to stay here. Right? That's the most recent sentiment. If they're not trying to win, I'm not trying to stay here. At some point, you must change the way that you do business when the way that you do business is not working. The way that Brad Holmes does business is not working because the way that Les Snead does business got him a Super Bowl. The way that Howie Roseman does business got him 2 Super Bowls. The way that Brett Veach does business got him 3 Super Bowls. Everybody else that doesn't have Super Bowls, whether it be Brad Holmes, whether it be Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, who's recently been fired, whether it be Mara, currently in New York, whether it be Spanos, these GMs and owners, who's the dude in New York? Joe Shine? He's not shining too bright. Whoever you are as a GM and you haven't gotten a Super Bowl, the way that you're doing business doesn't work. We got to the NFC Championship game. Cool. That's not the finish line. We didn't reach the goal. Right? The saying, shoot for the moon, because if you miss, at least you land amongst the stars. That doesn't work in the NFL for the Super Bowl. Damn, I mean, we went to the NFC Championship game. We're hovering around the Lombardi. We just can't quite touch it. Okay? So you got to do something different. And before I get to the other part about this, I'm going to agree with Lion Syndicate on something. I completely agree with this sentiment. Lion Syndicate yesterday said, watch what I tell you A team that can't trade for Max Crosby will trade for Max Crosby. A team who on paper cannot trade for Max Crosby right now. A team that has no cap space, a team that has too many large contracts, a team that, they would have to move this around and move that around, and they would have to do this and they would have to do that, and they would have to mortgage the future, and all these things that say that they can't do it on paper, they will do it. And guys, you have to understand that this happens in our division. Mother effing Chicago Bears got mother effing Khalil Mack. The mother effing Green Bay Packers got mother effing Reggie White. And then the mother effing Green Bay Packers got mother effing Michael Parsons. So many teams in our division who were when they are in Super Bowl contention or a window that you would say is one for the Super Bowl, they make the moves. If you swing and you miss, that's fine. If you swing and you miss, that's fine. Do you know how many years it would put on the job security of Bradley, Matthias, Jerome, Cornelius, Ignatius, Horatio, Shakespeare, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Holmes? You know how many years it would put on his job security? You know the sentiment. Even the people that you could say are critics of Brad Holmes. A lot of people will call me a critic of Brad Holmes. Lion Syndicate is a critic of Brad Holmes. Everything King is a critic of Brad Holmes. Right? Easy of the heavyweights is becoming a critic of Brad Holmes. The heavyweights themselves, Easy and Spinny, both of them are becoming a critic of Brad Holmes. Nick in the sound booth is becoming a critic of Brad Holmes. Or he is a big critic already. He's not becoming one. All these people that I mentioned, myself included, if Brad Holmes does what he needs to do and gets Max Crosby in here, that is going, a lot of criticism is going to go by the wayside. And the reason that it's going to go by the wayside before we even see any results is this. The general managers in this town have a reputation for being afraid. They have a reputation for finding reasons not to make the trade. How many times, and this is not just a Brad Holmes thing, how many times have you, as a Lions fan, seen somebody go somewhere and then the trade, and if you can recall anything that was like the biggest one in your mind, please put it in the chat. And I'm going to get to your chat in a second. I'm going to get to your comments in a second. How many of you, as Lions fans, sat there and watched somebody go to a team and then the trade stipulations come out and you're like, that's all he went for? I think Julio Jones at one point in time went for like a 5th round pick, or I think DeAndre Hopkins went for a 5th round pick. Something crazy. And you're like, that's all that dude went for? Somebody who maybe they're on the back 9, but they can still help you. Right? DeAndre Hopkins is on the back 9, but he can still help teams. Right? How many times have you been like, oh, such and such is getting traded, and because NFL trades don't work like NBA trades? you're not throwing in multiple first round picks, right? Or multiple seconds because you don't care about them. Like nobody in the NBA doesn't care about second round picks because you only have 2 rounds. This second round to the NBA is equivalent to the 7th round in the NFL. It's been multiple times, bro. There's so many times that I can't remember. And I'm like, damn, he got traded and that's all they gave up. They gave up a 3rd and a 5th. They gave up a 4th and a 6th. They gave up 2/3. They gave up a 2nd for him. That guy, only a 2nd? And we couldn't do that? So at some point we got to make some changes, bro. We got to stop being afraid to swing for the fences. All right. I would even trade Brian Branch in a first for Max Crosby. 100%. 100%. And you know why you do that? You know why you do that? Our safety situation might be cooked. We don't know what's happening with Kirby. Brian Branch, we know he's coming back from an Achilles tear. I just want to mention a name to you guys. And this guy is a name that you will all remember. But you probably forgotten about him. Because if he's still in the league, he's playing special teams. A guy that you thought was going to be an all-pro safety for the Detroit Lions and a man named Tracy Walker. I remembered Tracy Walker when I went on that deep dive of Inside the Den episodes. Shout out Mr. Morale 313. I remembered him because they had the episode where he had just got his extension with the Lions and he had that big ass chain and Brad Holmes wanted to wear the chain and all this other stuff and Dan Campbell was telling him, you know, you're one of our guys and you're going to be you know, part of this thing. And we want to have you here. And then I think that very same season, because I was in the off season, I think that very same season is when he tore his Achilles. Or it might have been the next season. But very, very, very soon after signing his extension, he tore his Achilles. Very soon after Kirby Joseph signed his extension, these knee issues popped up, right? Same season. But Tracy Walker tore his Achilles, and then he wound up getting cut after rehabbing and coming back to the Lions because he just wasn't the same player. Right? Tracy Walker was a big hitter. So is Brian Branch. Brian Branch plays all over the field. He's explosive. You need your Achilles. Tracy Walker was never the same. He caught on with the 49ers. I don't know if he's still there. Right? He was never the same. We hope that Brian Branch returns to the level. But the Achilles is there's more evidence that the Achilles, you're not coming back from that than there is evidence that you will. Right? The Achilles is still a bad injury. It's not an ACL or MCL or a PCL. If you tear multiple ligaments in your knee at the same time, the likelihood of you coming back better than ever is more than your Achilles. So our situation might be cooked with safety. So if you trade Brian Branch, if they're willing to take him while he's rehabbing, you get a guy who's going to make not Thomas Harper, not Daniel Thomas, not those guys, but, you know, like an actual NFL starter. You're going to make them look like Pro Bowlers. Because as I said, there's not going to be a whole lot of time to throw the football when Max Crosby and Aidan Hutchinson are collapsing the pocket on you. It's not going to be a whole lot of time. You see how Aidan Hutchinson gets like 3 people at a time. You're going to do that to Max Crosby too? You're running out of bodies. You're running out of bodies. And Max Crosby is not just a beast in the pass rush. He's a beast. Go look up his numbers and run stuffs and run stops. I believe he was number 1 in the league, in the NFL. Hello? You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. Hashtag, if you know, use the hashtag. It's a whole lot easier to get interior D linemen than it is a Crosby. Yes, that's true. That's true. The ball is always in Brad's court. To think otherwise is foolish. I don't think you understood the point I was trying to make there, Jason. I think it went over your head, but that's fine. I can't watch baseball, boring AF. Facts. I love baseball, not facts for me. It's a free country, man. Like what you want to like, LOL. Again, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not gonna try to tell y'all not to like it. I don't like it. Not to mention, I could never stand how they didn't have a caps. You mean a salary cap? I'm hoping that it's a case of the don't upset the apple cart and the Pistons roll. Hopefully. I don't know. I don't even know why he chose to stay there in the first place. I don't either. He was a Raider for life. He wanted to. He just wanted to be loyal, I guess. I know everyone loves Gibbs. He's fast, but we could have got Christian Gonzalez and still had DeAndre Swift and Montgomery and Gonzalez at one corner. Joseph and Branch, man, pisses me off. Actually, you're actually wrong about that. We did not. Gibbs had nothing to do with it. Do you know when Christian Gonzalez got drafted? And they were happy about this? Brad and Dan were happy that they got to take Jack Campbell because and Jack, we know Jack's a beast. We know Jack's a beast. But for Brad Holmes to be a DB snob, as he calls himself, and to miss out on Christian Gonzalez and to be happy with it, they didn't miss out on Christian Gonzalez. They weren't targeting him. And that's crazy because Melissa Gonzalez Blau, right, is his sister. And everybody went crazy for her when she was running in the Olympics or whatever during COVID, right? Everybody went crazy. And had watch parties for her races, all that stuff. But they weren't targeting Christian Gonzalez because they could have gotten him. All it would have taken was a trade up 1 or 2 spots. So they stayed at 18 and they got Jack Campbell. But yeah, I know I remember this because I did the whole deep dive of defend the or inside the den this past weekend. Appreciate you, Mr. Detroit City. I'm at the point with some of these Detroit sports owners, Illich's and front offices, Brad, Trajan, for not making all-in moves to win now when we have the chance in all sports leagues, but nope. Facts. Either the person is handcuffed to pay by ownership or the GMs are just full of themselves and willing to go down with their guys, period. Wild. I can't disagree. What up, though, Irv Gotti? When you do something over and over expecting different results, it's called insanity. Yes. When are the lines going to change? Jesus, please take the wheel. Exactly, man. I'm spending my time resting in the presence of the Most High. So sick of wasting time on these games when the people who run our teams genuinely don't want to win. Australia is not a free country. It's not. it's, it's not free. You gotta pay a pretty penny. I agree, Don. I usually watch baseball in the 8th or the 9th innings. I don't even get that far. I don't turn it on. I'm just tired of shopping from the bargain bin, knowing these dudes like Levi, Pascal, Davenport can't stay healthy. I would have rather just got Carlton Davis. Oh, we did have Carlton Davis. We just didn't keep him. That's the problem. I know they didn't want Gonzalez. I thought they grabbed Gibbs and passed on Gonzalez, but I still wanted Gonzalez, and that he was available still pisses me off. No, Gonzalez went 1 pick. He went 17. Campbell went 18. All right, so let's play what Amin Ra has to say.
I can't think of a duo like Aidan and Max if they were on the same team. But again, that's neither here nor there.
Don't you let him go to Chicago.
That's the one.
Don't you let him. I don't know if you'll sweep him this next year if that happens.
If he goes to Chicago, I'll be hurt.
Have you talked to Max?
I have not. I have not talked to him.
He's not here, obviously. I wonder if he's just getting hit up by everybody.
He probably is.
You think?
He probably is, yeah.
You should maybe just send him some pizza.
I'll send him.
Send him a Detroit-style slice and sticks pizza.
I think I will. I'll send him that. Send him a DM.
Yeah. What would the DM say?
Maybe like eye emoji, like just some very slight.
Very slight, yeah. Not like let's just go. Like imagine you crushing Caleb Williams' soul. Nothing like that.
Nothing like that.
Nothing like that. No Jordan Love.
Chicago, right.
Nothing like that.
It would be so lit. I feel like
that's 2 of your stars, 2 of your leaders talking about DMing Max Crosby, talking about recruitment, talking about it would be crazy, it would be wild. Aidan Hutchinson said dangerous. Okay. Now, the last duo that tried to use that danger and destruction, it was Aleem McNeil and DJ Reader, and it didn't work out too well. But there's no way that you would think that Aidan Hutchinson and Max Crosby would go the same way. Right? I mean, it worked out fine, but it wasn't this dominant thing that we needed on the defensive line. You know, it wasn't dominant interior pressure where now 1 year Aleem McNeil did get 5 sacks, and we don't know how many he would have gotten had he stayed healthy because he didn't stay healthy. So it worked out. It worked out fine. I'm not going to say it didn't work out. It worked out fine. But the way that it would work out with Aidan Hutchinson and Max Crosby is crazy. It's crazy. Amara just called me and told me to tell you that you don't know ball. I gotta stop talking then. Ron Bernarski is in here talking crazy, guys. Just don't. He literally said he wants to be a Lion. He literally said this. He said he wants to play for the Detroit Lions. All right. Let me go check on something right quick before I get into the breakdown of the numbers as to how we could get Max Crosby. All right, 1 second. Be right back. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the numbers. Okay. Now, the thing that I want to say before I go into the numbers is this. I told you I would go back to my favorite most practical example of how you make a trade and you make the numbers work. Matthew Stafford was traded to the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams, in turn, were set to eat his entire $60 million cap hit because that came with him. It went off of the books from the Detroit Lions, and it went on to the books of the Los Angeles Rams. The F those picks, Los Angeles Rams. But the Los Angeles Rams said, haha, not so fast, my friend. We're not about to eat $60 million worth of anything. We're going to restructure Matthew Stafford's contract. We're going to convert his base salary into a signing bonus. Now he has a $1 million cap hit. With the wave of the magic wand, poof, gone. Now, does it come back later on? Yes, it comes back later on in pieces. People don't seem to be, all the people that are caught up with the money. And even Aidan Hutchinson said, well, probably not because all the guys that they have to pay. Well, Aidan, you need to sit down and talk to your agent about how the contracts work. You know how your contract works, but do you know how everybody else's works? You literally have Max Crosby under your control for 3 more years. Max Crosby has asked to be traded to the Detroit Lions. He wants to come to the Detroit Lions. He said it out of his own mouth on his own podcast that if he were not going to be a Raider for life, he would want to play for the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell. He did a situation with Penei Sewell when he was asking Penei Sewell what it's like to play for Dan Campbell. So the likelihood of Max Crosby accepting a restructure so that he could fit himself underneath the salary cap for the Detroit Lions is extremely high. Why? Because you have to ask a player to agree to a restructure. Because it changes some things up. It reduces cap hits. Yes, it does give you a large chunk of money up front. But on the back end, there's some other things that could go on. But as he would probably want to be a Lion for life after that, right? Because he wanted to be a Raider for life, but they screwed him over. So now he wants to go home. You know who else went home a couple years ago? Danielle Hunter went home. And you know what he did when he went home? He gave them a hometown discount. I'm not asking Max Crosby or suggesting that Max Crosby is going to give them a hometown discount. No discount is needed. He will give them a hometown restructure. Hey, Max, we're going to trade for you. We're going to give up a first and Brian Branch, or we're going to give up 2 firsts. Or we're going to give up a first, a second, and a third, whatever the terms may be. And we're going to have you in here. Will you restructure your contract so that we can fit you under the cap and also make some splashes in free agency in the draft this year? You know what Max would probably say? Yeah, no problem. As long as y'all get me into Detroit where I want to be, not an issue. You got to be like, what's the logic? I want to go to X team. I want to go there. I'm asking my team to send me to X team. And then X team goes, all right, cool. We're not going to take any money away from you, but we need to, just make your contract a little bit easier to deal with. And you're like, nah. You take me as is, or I'm going to go somewhere else. Bruh, go somewhere. No, that's not what happens. I want to go to the Detroit Lions. I am aware that if I go to the Detroit Lions, my salary, my contract will be restructured. We've talked about contract restructures, all that stuff before. We've talked about it ad nauseum. And for those of you that are new here, those of you that are commenting for the first time or whatever the case may be, I appreciate you. Contracts in the NFL, salary cap is not real. The real thing about the salary cap is escrow. If you're not familiar with escrow, what escrow is it's an account that holds the money that's guaranteed. So the billionaire owners, and Sheila Ford Hamp is a billionaire, but she's not like Warren Buffett billionaire. She's not like the top billionaire. She's like a little billionaire, right? She's a little billionaire. So she doesn't have all the money in the world, which is why I keep advocating for her to do the Jeffrey Lurie, to do the Mark Cuban, and sell some stake of the team so that another billionaire can come in there and inject some money for the escrow accounts. That's all. Just inject. That's your job. And we give you some ROI, ticket sales, merch sales, however they make their money, you're going to get that because that's a return of your investment. And it's going to happen. It's going to be recurring. It's going to be every year. All we need you to do is put money into the escrow accounts. That's all. You put 100 million in there, we give you back 150. It's easy. You put 100, we give you back 2. It's, you know what I'm saying? That's all that I'm saying. So, yes, it's very doable. I'm going to give you some numbers. And then I'm going to get to your comments. All right. Okay, so here's the thing. Crosby is currently carrying a massive $35.88 million cap hit for 2026. To most GMs, that's a non-starter, but here is how Brad Holmes and the Lions front office could make the money work. Crosby's $30 million base salary for 2026 is fully guaranteed. If the Raiders trade him before June 1st, they actually clear $30.78 million in space while only eating $5.1 million in dead money. Easy for the Raiders. Easy for the Raiders. You want out of here and you're not going to put us in cap hell and we can get assets for you in return? Cool. This is an easy pill to swallow for the Las Vegas Raiders. We've made you upset. We've made you angry, whatever the case may be, and you don't want to play for us anymore, and we're not just going to have some disgruntled dude running around. Let's get somebody for you, and you're only going to cost $5 million against our cap. While you're not here, $5 million in dead money? That's peanuts. $5 million in dead money. I don't think anybody in the history of everdom has done anything to avoid $5 million in dead cap money. $5 million is a dream. All right. Once he lands in Detroit, you don't keep that $35 million hit. You perform a simple conversion. You drop his base salary to the league minimum, roughly $1.2 million, and turn the remaining $28.8 million into a signing bonus. Okay. I love putting that in there is because that's what they did for Matthew Stafford. And because we were the beneficiary of Matthew Stafford, we got a package. They got a package. We got draft picks. We got players. They won a Super Bowl. It is what it is. The void year secret. It's not a secret. But by adding 4 void years to the deal, you can spread the bonus over 5 years total for accounting purposes. The final number, instead of a $35 million cap hit, Crosby would cost the Lions only about $6.8 million against the cap in 2026. Let me say that again. For all of you people that think that the Detroit Lions can't make this work money-wise, this is why I'm giving you the numbers. $6.8 million against the cap in 2026. $6.8 million. I keep trying to tell y'all, the salary cap, it's not real. How else what other math can you do to turn $35 million into 6.8? Or if we want to say 30 million, obviously, because the 5 million is dead cap, whatever. This is part of the cap hit. How else can you make and again, money doesn't equal money. It doesn't add up. The salary cap money never adds up to the actual money. How do you get a contract that pays me $30 million this season and my cap hit is 35 million or 40 million? How does that make sense? They structured these things in a way in which people, if they're crafty enough and they understand enough, can kick the can down the road, can clear massive amounts of cap space when it looks like they're in cap hell. Look at the New Orleans Saints, who are in cap hell every year, but somehow manage to field a team every single year. They're $100 million over the cap to start the league year. At the end of the year, or at by the time training camp rolls around, they've got a full 53-man roster or a 90-man roster. How? They can't afford anybody. They still got people like Cam Jordan, Alvin Kamara, right? They don't have to give up their star players. How does that work? Salary cap's not real. I'm sorry. For those of you that think that it is, you got to prove me wrong that the salary cap is real. Because if it's supposed to be a hard cap, there wouldn't be so many ways to make it soft. Pause. Just saying. All right. So that's how you make it work, bro. That's how you make it work. All right, let me get to your comments. As I said, it's a Thursday show, so not too much time to talk after. All righty. This commercial break is brought to you in part by Carl's Jr. What up, though? We could get Max, but we ain't getting him. We could. And now, for the person that said to think that the ball's not always in Brad's court is foolish. That's not the point. The point is the spotlight is on Brad Holmes. What my job is to inform you fans that this is not only not impossible, it's actually quite easy to do. If I know this, and if I can get this information, and I don't work for the Detroit Lions or any other NFL team, but I can tell you how to manipulate a contract to get it under the cap. Don't you think the Detroit Lions also know this? I learned a lot about contracts by studying Lions contracts in this current regime. Kirby Joseph and all his option bonuses, and going forward, everybody is going to have option bonuses, so they have a lower base salary, which means they have a lower cap hit. I learned that from the Detroit Lions. The void years and all that stuff. Again, Lions, Eagles, all this stuff. There's so many teams that every year get so many people. Look at the Efton picks Rams. How the hell did they get all them superstars under contract? And actually had them hit the field to play for them and win a Super Bowl. So it's the spotlight that's on Brad Holmes. That's what it is. The players are asking you to do it. The fans are asking you to do it, but you won't pull the trigger because you're scared. We're building a case. We're gathering evidence. What if the fans develop a massive plan to overwhelm Sheila and Brad's office with calls to start throwing the sink at major talent? It might help. I mean, eventually y'all not going to get through, but it might help. What did Brad offer the Raiders before? We don't know what he offered them before. We just know he called. That's all we know. Allegedly, he called. Because they weren't willing to budge. So Melvin said there aren't many teams with 2 elite pass rushers, and we could be one of them very easily. That's the problem. Hutch and Henderson. See, Henderson, you got to compete on the open market with Henderson. I believe that Max Crosby has a no trade clause in his contract, which means he would have to waive the clause, which means I want to go to the Detroit Lions, so I am waiving the clause so that you can trade me to Detroit. You can't, if he's got a no trade clause, you can't send him to wherever you want. You have to send him to where he wants. Just like Jared Goff has a no trade clause. If he was going to agree to a trade, it would have to be to a place he wants. Doesn't matter the compensation that the team wants. That's where the player wants to go. I will riot if we trade Brian Branch. I'm not gonna riot if we trade Brian Branch for Max Crosby. I'm okay. I'd rather get Hendrickson. Don't have to give up any draft capital. But how much would you have to pay? And we know they're not about to sign anybody to $40 million on the open market. Oh no, never. Brad would never. Yeah, okay. I just detailed how we have all the room. The Sun brothers. Crosby plus Hutch and secondary equals a secondary that who gives a shot. All right, Hendrickson and Hutchinson, the Sun brothers. Again, it's not gonna happen. I could make up some new math and make the cap work. See, this is cap math. I'm not making it up. It's literally just, if you go study it, go do some research, because I have. This is called cap math. Okay. Cap math works differently than regular math. Okay. So I'm not making things up. This is actual. Again, did you see the Kirby Joseph episode that we did when Kirby signed his contract? We literally went through his contract with a fine-tooth comb, and we saw all the things that they did to keep down the base salary so that the cap hits would not be high. We saw all of the things that they did. We went through the contract. We had the details. So that's not what I'm doing. Anyway, I got to get out of here. Thursday show. Can't run long. I got stuff to do. I will read these last few comments. I'd give 2 firsts for Crosby. Me too. You would have the Sun brothers and the come on, man. Brother, if this team wasn't so stingy, cool. No problem. They're just not gonna do it. We know they're not gonna pay $40 million on the open market. I'm late as hell, but what I've done, what I told Mr. Around 313. You can watch it back on the playback. It's all good. All right. Once again, the Motor City Cats R&D back at it. We came to give you stats, not none of that side. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your lines news pragmatic. And we are out. Peace. We'll see you tomorrow.